Welcome to Fly on the Wall podcast. I'm your host, Chris Sonksen, CEO and founder of Church Boom. Here you get to sit in on a live coaching session as I coach pastors through the ministry challenges we all face. If you find this podcast helpful, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Hey, thanks for stopping by today. We are talking with my buddy Joseph on how to receive and give correction. That's a unique topic. How do you receive it? And then how do you learn to give it as well? It's a great topic. I think you're going to love it. Hey, I want you to check out, before we jump into the podcast, check out churchboom.org. We've got something called the Church Boom Network that you should be a part of. It is absolutely free. It doesn't cost anything, but you should be a part of the network. You've got so many resources that you become part of. You become part of a group that meets together on a monthly basis on Zoom. We come together once a year in person. It's just a tribe to belong to. We believe with all of our heart that pastors should not do church alone. You need a tribe. Whether you belong to a denomination or not, this is a great tribe to belong to. So check out churchboom.org and join the Church Boom Network. And let's jump into today's coaching conversation. Awesome. Well, let's jump into it, man. How can I serve you today? What's on your mind? And let's start to talk.
So I guess over the past few years, I feel like as a church, we've done a lot of things good, a lot of things right. We've seen a lot of salvations, baptisms, but the area I feel like that we need improvement on is developing disciples. Creating a pipeline, a way to truly develop disciples and keep them,
Yeah.
growing and moving in the faith, because we've seen a lot of salvations, but 2 months down the road, they slip out, they walk away, they fall, and which is unfortunate. And so if we could do a better job of, getting them rooted in Christ.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I think it's a great question because that's what we're called to do, is reach the people and disciple them, go into all the world and make disciples of all people. I think it's a great question. One of the things I think is important for a pastor to do is to identify, because it's kind of the word disciple. It's like, how do I know if someone's really a disciple? Well, the guy's been coming to church for a long time. Okay. Is he reading the word? I don't know. I'm not at his house. How do we know someone is moving towards that discipleship, and truly moving towards that discipleship, and not just because they've been going a long time and they give? What's really happening? So I think sometimes one of the things I would say is, sometimes as a leader, I think it's important that we kind of create a profile of at least the fruit of what we think a disciple would be and should be. So it's like, okay, well, what does his church attendance look like? And what about the giving? And are they in a small group? And do they attend our worship nights that we do once a month? Or is there a way that you can profile that? I think is an important thing, because if you just say someone's a disciple or not a disciple, what makes them the disciple? Your definition and my definition might be different. And then how do we really know they're doing anything? It's like, well, they show up. Okay, great. Well, I don't know what they're doing. So I think profiling it is great. One of the things that, from a program standpoint, I'll tell you one thing that we started using at South Hills. I don't do a lot of the day-to-day at South Hills, but a couple of years ago, we started, the church that I founded, we started using a program that has been gold for us in discipleship, and it's called Rooted. And it takes 10 weeks to go through it, and all of our campuses do it twice a year. So they'll do it at the beginning of the year, and then maybe around September. And it is really, really good. You can find it online easy. It's called Root. It's a discipleship thing. That has been really helpful. That has not only been helpful in helping them understand what the word means, what it means to follow Christ, what it means to read your word, get you set up for a devotional. Also, it dives into their generosity, their tithing. Every time by the end, they've grown and they start tithing. So we pick up tithers, which helps us economically. So that has been a really, really huge thing that we started a couple of years ago. I wish we would have started it years and years ago. It's one of the best I've ever seen. It's pretty easy to go through. But man, the amount of people that have gone through it and how much it's changed their lives. So one, figure out what a discipleship looks like to you. And as you guys pray about it as a team, then, and I think it's important that you know what that looks like and you're monitoring what people are going through. The Bible says, know the state of your flock.
Mm,
So Steve and Linda, do we know if they're tithing? Do we know if they're in a small group? Do we know if they're growing? Do we know if they're like, is there some checklist at least that we could start looking at? That's an important part that you're checklisting as people are moving through things. But
yeah,
then again, the rooted thing is something you could look into as well. But
yeah,
I think those are great. That's a great question because I think we lack that so much in the church. We build crowd without building disciples. And both
yeah,
are important. Don't get me wrong. You got to reach the lost, man. You can't just be like, we got 500 people in our church and we're all disciples. I'm like, yeah, but you're not reaching the lost. That's
yeah,
that's a problem too. So you have to have both. Both are really, really important. I call it the front half and the back half of the Great Commission. Go into all the world, make disciples. Both are extremely important.
yes,
Yeah.
amen, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's good. That's what I would recommend to you.
Good. I appreciate it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
is that like a 7 week, 7, 8, or a 8 week?
I
Because
think
I
it's
think
I think it's closer to 10 week. It's called rooted.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yep, I'll
Yeah.
check
If you have
into
any
it.
questions, you got my cell number. You can text me anytime if you got any questions on that.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What else you got?
Okay, so to go from disciples to leaders,
Yeah.
we want to create that leadership pipeline within the church where we're empowering more and more and more, releasing more, people to lead, to serve, and I feel like that's where we're at. I feel like God has truly positioned us, and it's taken a long time to get here, believe me, but creating that pipeline where it's ongoing, and though is what I want to make sure the culture we establish in the
Yeah.
next season that Crossroads is in.
Yeah. Well, when you say creating a pipeline, I just want to make sure I'm getting clear. Are you what specifically are you talking about? Are you talking about how we develop leaders, or you talking about culture in general? Are you like what are you talking about when you talk about pipeline and making sure that the future is going in the right direction?
Yes, and so I want to make sure that we create a culture where we're identifying, equipping, empowering, and then releasing those leaders to lead. And so I want it to be an ongoing process where we're continually
Yeah.
producing and releasing leaders.
Yeah. Okay. So, a couple things. I can just tell you what we teach at Church Boom. We have it in our Church Boom University. We teach it all the time. I believe in it. It works. I've been doing it for years. It works, and that is our leadership pipeline at Church Boom is called Leadership Ladder. Same thing, different word. Where we're constantly teaching churches to always be producing more and more leaders. And so there's 5 levels of that. I don't know if you and I have talked about this before, but there's 5 levels of that leadership. So you got the church, volunteers, leaders, leadership circles, and leadership apprenticing. Most churches work the first 3, they don't work the last 2. So they work the church, the volunteers, and the leaders. So it's like your church probably has, people come on Sunday, then you probably got a group of volunteers, and then you got a group of leaders. Sometimes I think that we have leaders that aren't really leaders. I think they're managers with leadership titles. I don't think they're really leaders. Sometimes because we just kind of put them in there for being faithful.
Sure.
So you get to that 4th and 5th level, and that's where, in my opinion, the scalability, being repeatable, being able to keep it ongoing is that last 2 levels: leadership circle, leadership apprenticing. So what I recommend is I always say, man, your staff, every one of them should be leading a leadership circle. What's a leadership circle? It's 5 to 6 people. You get a book. You go through it for a few months together. You guys are learning together. So I'm the youth pastor. I'm picking out 5 leaders that I believe in. Maybe they're in my ministry. Maybe they're not. I bring them in. We go through a book together, and we always ask 2 questions. What's the biggest thing you learned, and what are you going to do about it? That's what you always ask in that leadership circle. From those circles, you're picking out people that you feel that you could go to the 5th level with, and that is apprenticing. Apprenticing is helping people to do what you do just as good as you do it.
Yes.
And that's where the youth pastor is training up two more youth pastors. That's where the worship pastor is training up two more worship pastors. Children's pastors raising up two more children's pastors. One thing I always say, Joseph, is that I think a lot of churches are one pneumonia away from a disaster.
Yeah.
Meaning it's like, man, if your worship leader gets a pneumonia, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Your children's pastor gets pneumonia, and then you're working really hard to fill in the blank. We'll get Susie to do it. I mean, she's not good, but she can do it for now, kind of a thing. And it's like, well, that's because we're not raising up leaders. First Timothy, what is it? I think First Timothy chapter 2, verse 2. Or no, Second Timothy chapter 2, verse 2. Timothy or Paul mentions 4 different apprentices in one verse. Paul is an apprentice to Timothy. Jesus was apprentice to the disciples. It was more than, and Peter, when you look in the book of Acts, it wasn't just spiritual. He was like, okay, you guys feed the people, you guys organize this, I'll study. He was apprenticing people and raising people up. Timothy was becoming the next Paul. That was the idea. And I don't think we do that. It's funny to me, Joseph, that we do that in every other aspect of life. If you're a doctor, and you finish medical school, you're going to go 2 years in residency with me in the emergency room. You're done with the books. You're going to learn how to do this. You're a lawyer. You're going to have to spend time learning. If you're a plumber for the union, you got to follow me around for 3 months before you can go on your own job. We do it everywhere else. Plumbing, for crying out loud, we do it in, but we don't do it in the local church, which cracks me up. So I've always taught the leadership ladder, the last 2 being the most important that most people don't get to. It's the leadership circle and leadership apprenticing. Those are the things that I have found to be ongoing, and they work, and I've watched it work over and over and over, where you wake up one day and you go, man, we have a bullpen of unbelievable leaders, and they know how to lead. They don't have the title of leader. Like if our youth pastor got sick, I got 3 more. If God opened up 2 more campuses for us, not a problem. I got 2 worship leaders ready to go. Not an issue. And by the way, side note, I think God gives rain when we dig ditches. And I think that when we develop leaders, God's like, oh, they're ready for more. They're ready to add a second service. They're ready to add a 4th service. They're ready to have 2 more campuses. Why? Because they spent the time digging the ditch, which means they've been developing leaders.
Yeah.
Why would the ultimate property manager and steward of everything, God, give us another campus or another growth when we haven't even developed the leaders to sustain it?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. So people are like, man, that guy just keeps growing. Yeah, that's because what you don't see is he's developing leaders and God's paying attention.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
that's what I would do. But you got to, now that's just us. I'm not saying it's the only way to do it. But figure out a system that works for you and do that system and work the system so you're developing leaders. And I think as you develop leaders, I think God increases the harvest.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what else you got, man?
Okay, so this one might be a little harder. So
That's okay. I think we can handle it. Well, maybe we can't. I don't know.
And I'm not saying I've had this problem in the past, but developing spiritually mature believers who are able to not just receive direction, but correction. See, I preached this for years. I truly believe that direction or correction is for redirection and not for destruction. God corrects those he loves. That's biblical. And as leaders, as a pastor, I'm called to correct my sheep at times, to lead them, to redirect them. But it just seems like people today are able to receive direction, but not correction. And the moment you give correction, that's when they find a different direction. And so it's like the body of Christ, the church, they can share, they can correct whoever, the pastor, the leaders, this is you're not doing this right in the church or whatever. But the moment the pastor starts correcting, they hit the door. The
Yep.
pastor is supposed to receive everything, you know, but
Yep.
our church members, it seems like less and less they're not able to receive that, and so I want to also create that culture where we're able to receive correction and use it, apply it
Hmm.
when needed.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So no, those are great. That's a great question, and I can tell you that is not a Joseph Hall problem or your church problem. That's just reality of churches. Now, with that said, I think there's things we can do to improve it, but I don't think it'll ever go away. I don't think it's a problem you solve. I think it's a tension you manage because it's never going to go away. You're always going to have that to some degree.
Mm.
Now, one thing I feel that sometimes well, I was just working with a church just a few days ago. We do a lot of coaching for hundreds of churches. I was working with a church a few days ago, and the pastor was telling me about a situation. I had a chance to meet that leader. That it was actually a staff member that just had been on the staff for part time. And they're like, man, I when I correct him, almost the same thing. I mean, you talk about anything serious with the guy, and he gets all. And I had an opportunity to meet with the guy and talk with him about 20 minutes, not about any subject. I went back to the pastor and said, I can tell you what the problem is. He has no right being a leader.
Mm.
And he said, what do you mean? I go, the guy's not even mature. The guy's not even, he's not emotionally mature. Like the book, I don't know if you ever read the book. It's a pretty deep book, but it's about emotional intelligence. And this guy's not emotionally intelligent. He doesn't handle things right. Everything is an attack. Everything is insecurity. Everything is through the lens of you don't like me. Everything is through I'm a victim. You're going to have a hard time. So now this pastor's dancing around every issue, sometimes even avoiding issues because
Sure.
he doesn't want to deal with the outcome.
Yep.
So, one, I don't think it'll ever go away. But two, the way you can minimize it at least is by being careful because we look at leadership profiles and say, okay, how is Joseph going to be a leader for me? Whatever. And I might say, okay, well, he got character and loves the Lord. Okay, great. Okay, he can lead. People like him, whatever. All these things. Like he can lead, he can build things, he hustles, whatever. But then I get to the one is he emotionally intelligent?
Yeah.
Can he handle correction? Like you using your word. I just think sometimes we put people in positions and then we get upset or we get frustrated. They're not handling it right. When in reality, they should have never been there.
Sure.
It's like, taking a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old and putting them around very mature men in a room in suits and then getting upset that the kid's being a kid.
Yeah.
He's a kid. What do you expect? Of course, he's
Sure.
going to, run around, spill something, play games, get on the hands and knees and roll cars around on the floor in between these guys dressed in suits' legs like he's just a kid, and that's a kind of a weird example, but moving on over, it's like, well, yeah, that guy's acting that way on your team.
Yeah.
He's emotionally just not there. And I think that it has to be part of that criteria of a leader is emotional intelligence.
Sure.
So I don't know if we solve it all, but I think that we reduce it. I think also I believe that the way we do this is by bringing the right people on the team. I do think it's a value that has to be that lives what I would call a cultural statement value. So, what does it mean to be a leader at your church? Okay, the leaders at our church, whatever, man, they serve first. The leaders at our church receive correction well. The leaders at our church put God first. The leaders at our church, are team players. The leaders at our church know how to have fun. You're like, what are the 5 or 6, 7 statements that are made about them and your team knows that? Like you revisit it, you go over them 3 or 4 times a year. It's like, this is who we are, man.
Yep.
Values is what helps to create the culture. And values that are written on the wall but not lived out down the hall are never going to go anywhere anyway. They got to be real. They got to be like what we do. It's who we are. And
Sure.
so let's make sure, I would say, in addition to hiring the right people, is we reinstate the values. You've heard me talk about this before, but I'll say it just for everybody listening, is the power of the river isn't in the water. The power of the river is in the river banks. The power of the river is not the water. The power of the river is the river banks.
Yeah.
Because watch, you have a raging river. You've stood at them before and thought how beautiful they are in Colorado or wherever, and you're like, wow, what an amazing river. If you take the banks and remove them, all you have is a massive pond.
Yeah.
They're no longer powerful anymore because you removed the riverbanks. The power of the river is not the water. The power of the river is the riverbanks. Values.
Sure.
Values. That's a riverbank. That's what's guiding the power of your church, of your staff, of your leadership. So be careful who you bring on. Emotional intelligence is important. Number two, be clear about your riverbank, your values, because if you don't have that, you don't have the power anymore.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that for sure. I do want to reword or correct myself.
Yeah.
What I was saying, what I was trying to say is, I don't want my members, my leaders, my church to be better at receiving correction. I want to be better at giving correction.
Oh, well, let's go to that. I love
so
that.
that it can be received.
Oh, awesome. Well, I got the question wrong, but I think the answer was great for people listening.
It was good.
But
Good.
no, let's flip to that side. Because I love that. Giving the correction. That's really good. I love that too. In the giving of the correction, I can just tell you what I do. People tend to support whatever they feel like they're helping to create. Now, I say that for a reason. Let's role play a little bit. I'm the lead pastor. You're a staff member or a leader at the church. So I'm like, let's say that you've been getting a little negative in the meetings and, you kind of, just been getting negative or whatever. I don't know, whatever it is. I'm going to come to you and say, hey, Joseph, let's meet. You're on the team. But it's been feeling like you've been a little bit different lately. There's been a couple times where I've been noticing that. And here's the key. I'll say I noticed kind of this, I noticed kind of that. Here's the key though, Joseph. I'll say to you, after I say that little bit, I'll say to you, and I've been kind of noticing this, that, and the other thing, and I don't know what's going on, and I was just wondering if you could speak into that for me. Now, when I'm in a correction or dealing with a conflict mode, I flip to that person probably inside of about 90 seconds, which is fast. I don't sit there and say, Joseph, let me tell you what's going on. I've been noticing you have a bad attitude. I've been noticing that you've been doing this, that, and the other thing. I've been noticing that you've been ticking people off with the way that you've been communicating with people. You've been really, really negative. We can't have this in the church. God wants us to be positive. I've already said that you're negative. I've already told you that you're a problem. Now I'm telling you God doesn't want it, and here's the solution. Immediately, there's a good chance you're going to be defensive.
Sure.
However, if I say to you, I've been noticing a couple things. I don't know what's going on, but here's a couple things I've noticed. I don't know what's happening. It just doesn't feel like you lately. And here's the key phrase. If you can do this phrase, it will change everything. And then you just say, I was wondering if you could speak into that for me. Oh my goodness. It changes everything. Because I had to do that a while back with a staff member. And I said, I wonder if you could speak into that for me. That person I only talked for 90 seconds. Then they talked for about 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes. Halfway through, they were like, yeah, I guess I got a bad attitude. Sometimes people just tick me off, and I don't know, man. It's just sometimes I've just been thinking I don't know, I'm really frustrated about this, and then they ramble on. Then I go, now they're done with their 10 minutes. I only spoke 90 seconds. Watch how fast I turn it back to them. Hey, Joseph, in the middle of your response, you said, man, I sometimes have a really bad attitude. Could you talk a little bit more about that for me? What's that about? Boom, I'm right back over to you. Look what we're doing. We're solving a problem. We're talking about a problem that you said you had. I didn't say you had. Once I get you to admit it, now we're not solving a problem that I said you had. We're solving a problem that you said you had.
Yeah.
Then once you say, well, I'll tell you about my bad attitude. When I say, hey, bad attitude, and then you say, or you said a bad attitude, 4 or 5 minutes ago, about halfway through. Can you speak into that again? Dude, 30 seconds. I'm back over to you. Then you talk. When I feel like we got enough talking going on, okay. What I've heard you say so far, Joseph, is I've been noticing something in you, and you're telling me, yeah, you have been, Chris. It's my attitude. Yeah, you have been. My heart's been going this way. Only using the things they said to me. They'll say it, man. I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, they'll say it. Now, we can't have that on the team. What do you think that we could do moving forward to resolve this? Now, we're together working on the resolution, and now he supports whatever he felt like he created or she created or whatever. It's way different outcome when you approach it that way. Way different outcome. They're saying they have the problem. You're only solving the problem that they said they had, and now, or talking about the problem they said they had, and now it's like, and what do you think we could do to fix this moving forward? Because you got to agree with me. We can't have this on the team anymore. Night and day difference than going in and being the judge, jury, and everything else.
Sure. Yeah, that's so good. I agree with that for sure because, the first step in fixing a problem is admitting that you have the problem. And it's so much easier to receive it when I'm admitted it and not someone pointing it out to me. So, yeah, that's
100%.
really good. So I appreciate that.
Good. I hope you found that helpful, man.
Absolutely. And I recognize, though, it's going to be person by person, situation by situation. Every situation's not going to work out the way I want it to, but I want to develop myself to be a better deliverer and not necessarily them being better receivers. But as I become a better developer or deliverer, they'll become a better receiver. So
that's right. Yeah. That's right. Well, cool, man. Anything else?
No, I don't think so. I appreciate the time and all this.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, man, great having you on the podcast today, man. I really, really appreciate you and love your heart for the kingdom, love your heart for the church. I know God's doing awesome things in you, and just know we're always here to help, man. Anything you need, we're always here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And just a shout out to you and to your listeners. I was facing a struggle, with leaders within the church. I didn't know where to go. I texted you. It was like, is there any way I could speak? 10 minutes later, you're calling me. And step by step, I appreciate that. I appreciate your friendship, your leadership.
Absolutely.
Your heart. So,
well, I appreciate that, man. The entire team at Church Boom, one of our values is, for Church Boom, speaking of values, is that we want to be the pastor's best friend and raving fan. And we are here to serve, period, end of story. And so I appreciate you saying that. That really is awesome. But anything you need, let me know. Always here, Joseph. It's really good having you on the call today, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Chris.
Have a good day, bud. Bye. Bless you, man. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for checking out the conversation with Joseph. Hope you got a lot out of it. I want to remind you, before you finish out the podcast, to go visit churchboom.org and check out the Church Boom Network. Everybody needs a tribe, and this tribe, you will love it. You will love all the resources you get. You will love the relationships you get. You will absolutely love being a part of it. So go to churchboom.org, check it out, Church Boom Network, and become part of the network. We'd love to have you there. And we will see you next time on the Fly on the Wall podcast.